the portion of my videos at the end, but there's a quote or a phrase that I put at the end that I actually came up with myself. And what it says is to see reality for what it really is for you to open your mind to knowledge and see it as a very, very true phrase or whatever you want to call it. Because I tell you all the time that the unknown is very real. And even though you may not believe it or you may be a little skeptical, that doesn't mean that it isn't true. So today I have got an interview for you guys that I'm putting together right here, right now, and it is one of my viewers, and she has a very, 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 very interesting story to tell about some of her experiences. And I want to kind of get into other topics, other than just people who disappear in national parks, because phenomenon has more than one meaning, and it's not just people who disappear in national parks. It's people who have UFO experiences, and if you watch my videos, I have talked about my very own UFO experiences and my ghostly experiences. Heck, I still have them. I haven't had any lately, but I do have small ones, sometimes big ones. But the person that I'm going to be talking to today has had quite a few of them herself, and it kind of reminds me of a guy who has this. There's a documentary about him on Netflix. I think it's called Extraordinary. I can't remember the name, but he was on YouTube. And if you've seen his YouTube video, it's he set up a camera in his kitchen and to record a gray alien peeking into his kitchen through a window from the outside, and you actually see the head of one popping up from below the window and looking inside. This same person has had a lot of experiences much similar to the one that my guest has, and I have her here with me today. Welcome to my channel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's great.
Good. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Very, I'm having a good time interviewing people who are opening up to their experiences, and I hope that your experience and you wanting to be interviewed, and the woman that I had interviewed a couple of days ago, I hope that will cause other people to open up and want to talk about something that they may an experience they may have had that they may think is too weird for them to talk about. So I guess what we can start with is how did you end up having these experiences, or what was the very first one that you had? Or you could start off with what we talked about last night. With the first, with an experience that you had. Whichever you feel like talking about.
Well, I guess I'll start off with my friend, the guy from the college we were going to. My friend who was, like you said, very, very skeptical person. Like, he didn't really believe in anything like that out of the ordinary. Like hearing stories like that. If he didn't see it and he wasn't there, it didn't happen. But he started the college shortly before I did, like a semester before I did.
Okay.
And he had met this guy there that, well, he said he told me there's something strange about this guy, that he says and does odd things, which coming from him, I was like, well, that's interesting, this is not something he would normally talk about. But he had told me that one day they were walking down the hall together, and he had kind of gotten and he was like just a little bit behind him, and when he stepped around that corner, he was nowhere in sight, but there was nowhere for him to go. And then the next thing that he knew, this guy was tapping him on the shoulder, asking him what's taking you so long? Which he couldn't figure out, okay, how did that happen? That doesn't make sense.
Right.
How did he get behind me? He was just in front of me. And it was just little things like that, you know, or he would say something like, he said that one day they were standing in front of there were these like large windows where you could see out into the front of the campus. And they were standing in front of the large window. It was really sunny that day, and they were kind of standing directly in the sunlight, and this guy says to him, "Can we move? I really don't like the sunlight. It burns my skin." And my friend kind of jokingly said, "What are you, a vampire?" And this guy replies with, "By the time you figure out what I am, it'll already be too late."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that kind of threw him, you know. And I asked him, you know, like, do you think he was joking? And he said, not by the tone, the way he said it. He was being serious.
Wow.
And that kind of freaked him out. Plus, you know, he'd already seen him do strange things before.
Right.
And the date that this particular incident happened, I can tell you the exact date. It was January 5th, 2010. I had just taken and passed the entrance exam into the college. And while we were there, before we left, my friend introduced me to this guy. And when I met him, it's like I immediately knew there was something different about him. It was just a feeling he gave off. And like once I felt that, I couldn't shake that feeling. You know, I tried to talk myself out of it, you know, like, you're letting your imagination run away with you because of what he told you about this guy already.
Right.
But like I couldn't shake that feeling off.
Wow. Yeah, that just knowing that he said something like that makes you wonder exactly what he meant by that. I mean, would you care to talk about what you think he meant by that? I mean, like,
I'm not entirely 100% sure. Like, he would say and do things, and it's almost like he was trying to give you some sort of hint without telling you anything. He spoke in riddles a lot.
Okay.
But later that evening, I had stayed at my friend's apartment, and it was around 9 o'clock at night, and they don't allow smoking in his apartment building. So we went out of the apartment building and out to the little smoking area in the parking lot.
Right.
And my friend's the first one to notice it. He just said, "What was that?" Which I wasn't looking in the direction he was looking in, so I didn't see anything and didn't know what he was talking about. And I asked him, "What did you see?" And he said, "Nothing, never mind, my mind must be playing tricks on me."
Wow.
And then a few minutes later, I saw it. And it was like a streak of color going by, like a blur of something moving incredibly fast, just darting through the parking lot. Which I was like, okay, what was that? And then I'd sit there and describe to my friend what he had just seen previously that I didn't. And he's like, "That's what I just saw." Which let him know, okay, obviously his mind wasn't playing tricks on it.
Right.
I think too. Well, his first instinct was to like, okay, let's go back inside. Mine was, let's go towards it and figure out what it is. And he actually said, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "Maybe, but I'm curious. It's not trying to hurt us. It's just beating around."
Right. I probably would be too.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Like, I'm probably too curious for my own good. But, you know, I want to know about things. If I see something and I don't know what it is, I'm the type of person who likes to learn about things.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that, because I'm the same way. That's the reason why I do. That's the reason why I do this. I do my channel the way I do, because I want to know about everything. You know, the strange and the mysterious. So you know there's nothing wrong with that. So you're not alone. Trust me.
Yeah. But that went on for about a week of just seeing these streaks of color that would go by. And, you know, the other lady you mentioned seeing, like, catch flashes of orange and gray out of, you know, the corner of her eye. Sometimes as she was, you know, she would see it, like it would look like a person, but then she would turn and, you know, nothing would be there. And that kind of reminded me a lot of this, because they moved incredibly fast. Whatever the toys moved incredibly fast. I mean, it's just a blur of colors.
Gray one and an orange one, but there was also white and black. And we kind of dubbed them the misters. We started calling them the misters, basically.
Okay.
And seeing that went on for about a week. And then one night, we were out in the parking lot, and one of them was streaking by, and then it stopped. Just for a split second, just long enough for me to see, this is the outline of a person. But it looked like they were wearing, like, a hoodie with the hood up. Like, so I couldn't see a face or anything. Well, it didn't really stop long enough for me to register any features other than this is a human shape. And then it took off again.
Okay.
And, yeah, my friend and I were, well, that time I saw it before he did. And I said, that's a person. And he said, that's not possible. But then a few minutes later, he goes, those are people, because he saw it too. I said, I just told you that. But it was that night when they stopped, and you could see that they were people. Like, they looked like people.
You mean as far as like the body of a human?
Like they would look like basically people wearing hoodies.
Oh, okay.
With a hoodie on.
Okay.
Now, the one in gray was really super tall. The one in the grayish hoodie, really super tall. He was way taller than the rest of them. I would say over 6 feet tall. Maybe taller. But he was pretty tall. Like, he towered over the rest of them.
Yeah, most beings of that nature, they say that they're very tall, like at least anywhere between almost 7 feet, sometimes 8 feet. You know, so yeah, that definitely sounds pretty familiar to me. I mean, I've heard a lot about that as well. And from like what I was saying last night, they really kind of remind me, as far as what they're wearing, they kind of remind me of the black-eyed children. You know, because I know you told me that they were like about, you know, teenage size, and I heard of a lot of them. They run at the range of like the size of maybe a 10-year-old to like a 15-year-old. But like you say, you never saw their face. So
no,
yeah,
I've never seen their faces.
Okay.
I've never seen their faces, so I don't know what they look like. Other than people wearing hoodies. But right after that happened, right after he realized that, you know, these look like people wearing hoodies, which, you know, your mind is trying to process that, okay, people can't do that they can't move that fast. I mean, they move very, very fast. Like superhuman speed.
Wow. It's weird for them to look like humans, but they don't move like humans. That's amazing.
No, they not at all. No, they don't move like. Now, I have a theory about that, but I'll get to that in a little bit later.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But he was kind of standing at an angle, looking at the parking lot. He was looking at an angle that I couldn't see exactly what he was looking at.
Yeah.
But he was looking off towards the end of the parking lot, towards some street lights. And all of a sudden he goes, "Oh my God." And I was like, "What?" And he said, it was basically, one of them stopped right underneath the street lights and pulled his hood down. And it was that guy that we went to college with.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, he was like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "That's him." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, and then he said he just pulled his hood down. He purposely did it. That was meant for him to see, not me. I've learned that they don't do anything on accident. Everything they do has a purpose.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Everything they do, it's with a purpose. It's not accidental. So if you see them, it's because they want you to see them.
Right.
Now, the next day after that night, when we went to school the next day, he confronted him about that. And he told him everything that we had been seeing. And then he told him, "It was you. Pulled his hoodie down, it was you." And his response to that was something that I wouldn't consider a normal response. Which, to me, if somebody had come up to me and said, "Oh, this is happening," and it was you, I would have probably responded with, "Okay, you've lost your mind."
Wow.
But he actually said, "No, I don't think it was me. I was at a friend's house last night. I don't think it was me."
Wow. Well, was he around people when he said that, or were they by themselves?
I'm not sure. I wasn't with him when he confronted him about it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if there were other people around, or he pulled him to the side somewhere.
Because I would think that would be the reason why he did that. If he wanted to show himself to him, just to let him know who or what he was. Even though he only showed his face, he still doesn't know exactly what he is, which is exactly why he said what he said. So he's just giving him bits and pieces of information, but yet at the same time, he basically just flat out lied, saying that it wasn't him. So I would imagine he had to been in public, around too many people, or maybe they was in an area where they wanted a lot of people, and and they might have been talking kind of low, or he didn't want anyone to be alarmed at what he was saying, So it's a possibility they might have been around people for him to say it like that, especially if you took it upon yourself to show your face after all the times when you tried to deny that it wasn't you, or they were looking at you funny. You'd be like, "Okay, what?"
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, most people you come out with, there's these things zooming around at superhuman speed, and one of them looks like you. Most people will respond with, "Have you been smoking crack?" or,
Yeah.
something like that. They
Been
wouldn't
there, done
say, "I don't think it was me.
Yeah, I have been there, trust me.
Somewhere else last night." That was a little odd. But he was always doing little odd things, or saying little odd things like that.
Wow. Yeah, so obviously he knows something that we don't, and whatever that is, I guess we'll never find out until the day comes for us to find out. Now, what about now? You told me before how you feel like you're a beacon for anything strange. Can you name a couple of things that's strange?
Well, yeah, I've always been kind of a magnet for those things that people would consider, I guess, paranormal.
Right.
Weird, strange. I've seen, like, ghosts ever since I was a little kid. Like, seeing ghosts. I've had experiences with graves. I don't really like them too much. That's probably the only thing I've had experience with that, like, really scares me, is the grave. They're not very friendly.
That's what I've been hearing.
It's like they don't care. They do whatever they want, and they're not very nice. So they kind of scare me.
Yeah, because I've heard about their attitudes, and the fact that I've also gotten the information on what they really are. They're not really what you would call your typical aliens. They're more like bioengineered robots, and they didn't install like emotion into them, so they can do all of the things.
I was about to say, it's like they don't really have emotion. They're not empathetic at all. They don't really care what they do to you or what pain they're causing you.
I don't even think they know what pain is for them to do what they do either. I don't think it's just a matter of the fact that they don't care if they inflict pain on you. I don't think they know what pain is, because I've heard that they have said, well, this is someone that talked about this on Coast to Coast Internet. He said that they told him that they beat death, and a lot of the characteristics of a human as far as feelings and stuff like that, and like emotion, none of that stuff is present because they didn't install these things into them. So they're just a bunch of mindless drones that they use to do all this stuff, like abduct people and put probes in them and take away their babies and all kinds of stuff. So I think that might be something that a tool that they use in order to get their job done, so they won't have any remorse for them. So they get the job done and send them on their way. So yeah, that is strange. So what are some of the other experiences you've had, in the strange, other than the
graves and the
right
ghosts? Really, just, I mean, pretty much anything. It's got to the point where anytime I see something that is not supposed to exist, I just go, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah. And what would some of that be, like, as far as what you would think don't exist, or what would you want to say?
Well, I have seen what I would call it a werewolf. I think that some people have called it Dogman before.
Oh, okay.
But seeing that, I was more fascinated. Like, I wasn't scared at all. It wasn't trying to attack me. I think it was just as fascinated by me as I was by it. And it didn't look anything like werewolves are depicted in movies. It really reminded me of the Egyptian hieroglyphs of the gods, where they have the body of a human but the head of an animal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it, like, it kind of reminded me of Anubis, but instead of a jackal, it was a wolf head.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's more than one representation of what Anubis may have looked like, or any other Egyptian king. I mean, it's bad enough. Well, I'm going to say bad enough, but I mean, I've heard of how they have been depicted as alien human hybrids, because of, the Anunnaki coming to Earth and, gene splicing with humans to create these different types of beings. Like, and I think that may be where the head of an animal thing came from. They were probably splicing animal DNA with human DNA, and they had the technology to make sure that it worked in order for them to be born the way they were. You know.
Well, so you would think seeing the head of an animal on the body of a human would look all kinds of weird, like.
Yeah.
But somehow it looked perfectly natural. I know that doesn't make sense, but
right.
It really did. Like, there was, like, it wasn't like somebody wearing a mask or something like that.
Right.
This was clearly a human body, like, covered in very fine, short fur. Like I said, like Anubis, you know, the way he's depicted.
Right.
With the black body with the head of a jackal, except instead of a jackal, the wolf head. That was the hairiest thing on it, was its head.
Wow. That is crazy. Yeah, because I remember I was telling you before about, like, on the intro to my videos, there's a photo that comes in somewhere in the middle where you see, like, this light brown, upright looking, like, werewolf, like, dog like creature walking in the middle of the street because it was caught on camera by a CCTV camera. I'm not sure exactly what state or what country this happened in, because it was just a random photo that was put on the internet. And if you know what CCTV camera photos look like, or any other type of security camera photo looks like, I'm not saying that they could easily use CGI or somehow mess with the camera to edit it and put that on there, but it looked real to me. You know, and I would consider myself a person that knows when something is fake. You know, because I mean, I have been fooled before, so that's how I'm able to like kind of just know what's real and what isn't real. So I believe that photo was real, and to hear you say that about seeing a werewolf-like creature or a dogman-like creature, you know, I totally believe that it started because we're talking about creatures who have been talked about for years, like the chupacabra, and everybody has always said that's like some sort of like a creature from another level or another plane that can somehow slip into our plane from where it comes from, you know. And I think a werewolf can do that as well at will, apparently. So obviously these creatures from these other planes or other realities have the ability to travel through dimensional portals, you know. And the only problem I have with that is the fact that any other type of dimensional portal seems to open up in areas that are very random, yet at the same time, well, I won't say at the same time, but just like with the people that disappear in national parks, they go in and they don't come out. Nobody seems to understand why, you know, but instead of them going from point A to point B, somewhere in the middle, they just vanish off the face of the earth. And I believe that may have a lot to do with it. Now, is someone controlling it? I don't know. But to know that these creatures can slip in and out of their own world to get into ours, you know, I think that it could be a type of ability or a mental type thing maybe that they have that we don't, you know, because I've always talked about how, you know, well, not so much on my channel, but to myself or to anybody else, that there's a level of mental ability that we all have. We just haven't reached it yet, you know. And I think that they have that ability, even though they're animals. But you know, they always talk about how animals have abilities that we don't have, like dolphins and sharks. They have their echolocation. Well, not sharks, but like dolphins and whales have their echolocation, which they established on their own because they had to find their way through the sea, and they can find their prey by doing that. So all of these things that they can do, I truly believe that they can actually find a way to travel through these portals to get to our world, you know, as well. So that is definitely something that I can believe, because, you know, the unknown is real, and it definitely isn't something that you could say that, okay, it's not happening. It's humanly impossible. Maybe so, but if it's happening, it's happening. You know, you can't deny it. So yeah, Yeah.
Now, there's another thing that the other lady mentioned that is very similar to something that I've experienced. They can make themselves, like, I don't know if it's blending or what, but when they're like that, it's like they're there, but they're not there. And you only really see them when they move, like, even if it's just like a little bit. But it's like I was telling you last night, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, that Predator movie.
Right, where he can cloak himself, in the environment to where he looks like he's not even there. Exactly, because I remember David Paulides was talking about the same thing. Is a friend of his who has a wife who was, I think she was hiking in the woods, and she had a BlackBerry, and when she was in the woods, she happened to see something in the trees, and it looked like, the way she described it was, like you said, it looked like something out of Predator, because it was like it was cloaking itself so it couldn't be seen, but when it moved, everything around it or everything behind it rippled,
Yeah, like, that's in one of David Paulides' books.
Well, it wasn't in the books. It was just it was a friend of his. I can't remember his name right now or his wife, but I think that friend of his told him the story. He didn't ever. I don't think he ever put it in a book, but he has talked about it numerous times on Coast to Coast AM. And like I said,
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I actually looked up his wife, and she's a very avid hunter, and I think that's what she was doing. She wasn't hiking; she was hunting. And she that's when she saw it, and she took a picture of it with her BlackBerry. Her husband took it to the phone company to get it checked out, and he said that there is no way no way that she could have taken this picture. The phone wouldn't allow her to take a picture like that, and because I guess it was sharp and very clear, and it was, I guess, somehow she was able to capture it on her phone, and it's actually on the internet, and I looked it up, and it's really kind of hard to look at as far as knowing what it is, because it has these descriptions of certain parts of that photo on the photo, like at the very, they have like a little line with words on it saying like, this is the hair, this is the back, this is the torso, or this is the head. And I saw these little white streaky lines in the photo that looked like it could be like very fine hairs, but I couldn't make out most of it. But that the picture that she took, and you could see the streak lines of sunlight coming in from the corner of the photo as well, so you could tell it was from outside. So that obviously this is something that is very true. If she said it and then you're confirming it as well, that of something that happened to you, so
yeah. And I wasn't even aware that had happened. Like, I hadn't heard that story before.
Yeah.
But when she mentioned that, I knew exactly what she was talking about. I think she described it as looking at something through water, like it was very distorted. But yeah, it's hard to describe unless you see it yourself. Like, you can see it, but you can't see it.
Right.
I know that really doesn't make sense, but
well, it makes perfect sense to a person that has an open mind. So,
But yeah, they're still around. Like, I still see them every once in a while, but only when they want me to.
Right.
Like I was telling you last night, I'm not exactly sure what I did to get them interested in me while they're around me all the time. I'm not exactly sure why, but something I did. Maybe it was the fact that somehow I knew he was different. But sometimes it's almost like they're playing like they're, just playing with you. Like they'll do little things that,
Right.
like they're saying, yeah, I'm still here.
Yes.
And they're gone again.
Yeah, I guess kind of like making themselves known to you, letting you know that you're still there. And it's just like what the last person I interviewed, she pretty much went through the same thing. She didn't say she experienced that, but from what she told me, that's basically what they were doing, because the fact that she went through what she went through, and it was like, it just seemed like that's what they were doing. They were testing her, and just rearranging the environment to see how well she can get out of there. It was almost like she was in some kind of a maze, and they were seeing if she can just get out of that environment on her own, because she has told me that she has gotten lost in the woods quite a few times. But, she has actually found her way out of it. So, and I think they knew that, but they just wanted to see how well she could do that if they just really messed with her to see she had the instinct to lead herself out. And obviously she passed.
There's another thing that she mentioned, that that feeling of when in one of the videos where she was like, I don't know why, but I can't go this way, and she like turned around and ran back.
Right.
That feeling, I know exactly what she's talking about, because they have a way of letting you know if you get too close to one of them that, yeah, you need to turn around. It's like this, it's this feeling that comes over you like, okay, you don't want to disobey this feeling. It's like when you get that feeling of you shouldn't do something, it's kind of like that, but way more intense. It's like it touches some primal part of your brain where it's like, danger, run away.
Right.
So I knew exactly what she was talking about with that too, because I've experienced that. If I've ever gotten too close to one, whether I saw them there or not, I knew that the moment I got that feeling, okay, I need to back up. I had told my friend about that feeling, but I don't think he ever really got it until he experienced it himself.
Oh, okay.
Which that really messed with him. What happened? It was Christmas night, and we've probably been seeing them like sometimes off and on. It wasn't like an every night thing anymore. It was like off and on, but it was pretty frequent. Like maybe every few weeks or so that we kind of see them go by or whatever, or make themselves known, just kind of step out of nowhere and like, hey, I'm here. But this was Christmas night, and he had just gotten back from having Christmas dinner at his grandmother's house.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled into the parking lot and got out of the car, and the apartment building that he lives in was like one of those apartment buildings where you have to go inside a building to get to the apartment. So, the front door is locked with a key that only the tenants have.
Right.
He was walking towards the door to go into the apartment building, and all of a sudden, every light in the parking lot, like the street lights, every street light in the parking lot and in the vicinity just went out. Kind of plunged the whole parking lot into darkness. But he knew it wasn't like a power failure because the lights of the building were still on, and he was kind of standing there trying to figure out, okay, what the heck is going on? Why did all the street lights just go out? And then a couple of seconds later they came on, and two of them were standing there in front of the door to the apartment building. And he kind of got a little courage at that time and was like, okay, I'm tired of this. I want to know what's going on. Why are they here? You know. So he goes marching towards them, gets maybe a couple of feet from them, and one of them holds his hand up, kind of like, stop, and basically said, that's far enough. And he said he stopped for two reasons. One, because he actually said something to him, which has never happened before, or since then. And two, he got hit by this feeling of, you don't want to disobey me.
Wow.
And, yeah. He's like, he said he stopped and kind of lost his courage there and was kind of like, okay, what do you want? Very respectful at that time. No longer okay. So, but he said, okay, what is it that you want? And whoever this person was said, you two are smarter than you give yourselves credit for. And in the spirit of Christmas, we're going to give you a gift. One of your theories is correct. Merry Christmas. And then they were gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what do you think that theory was that he already knew?
I'm pretty sure I've figured out that they're interdimensional beings. That was one of the theories that we had.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're actually moving as fast as they appear to be. I think that they appear to be moving that fast because they're moving outside of our, I guess you would say, timeline.
Right.
They're
What?
moving, yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about, because I remember I was watching an episode of How the Universe Works, and they were talking about if you move away from the Earth at the speed of light, the Earth is still spinning on its axis at a regular pace. So
right.
Even though you're moving at the speed of light and it's still moving, everything is still the same and nothing changes. And you're moving away from time itself. I guess, and I'm guessing in deep space there's no such thing as time, but it only exists here on Earth. So if you move
right.
away from it, you are not a part of that. I wouldn't even know what to call it. I guess a part of time itself.
Right.
Because
I think they're kind of moving outside of time.
Right.
And that's why they appear to be moving so fast. I don't think they're actually moving as fast as it appears they're moving.
Right.
Now you talking about that that I have talking about moving outside of time. There have been two incidences where I've had missing time, where I had no idea where I was or what I was doing.
Oh. Okay.
Now, and both times I've had somebody else with me that experienced this as well. The first time was with my friend. We had he had just come to pick me up from my house.
Okay.
And the road that I live on, it takes 15 minutes to get from the end of my driveway to the end of the road that I live on, where there's a stop sign that kind of you can either go left or right after that. There's no straight option. So I guess you would say fork in the road.
Right.
But he had come in to pick me up, and we had gotten just past the house that is across the street from my house.
Okay.
And I couldn't find my cell phone, and I told him I can't find my cell phone. So he pulled off onto the side of the road, and it was still kind of light, like, it was pretty light outside. It was getting a little bit dark, like that dusty sort of dark, but it was still pretty light outside, so you could see really well without headlights. But he was going to turn around because I thought I had left my cell phone back at the house, but there was a car coming, so we had to sit there on the side of the road for a moment. But while we were waiting on the car to go by so he could pull back onto the road, I found my cell phone in my purse, like at the bottom of my purse. And I told him, I said, "Oh, it's okay, I found it. We can go on." So he waited for the car to pass, and then we pulled back onto the road behind this car, and we started going up a hill that's maybe just right down the road from my house. Going up this hill, and then blank until the next thing we both know is it's completely dark outside. We're pulling up to the end of the road where the stop sign is at, and it's 2 hours later.
Wow.
And people had noticed we weren't where we were supposed to be, I guess. We were supposed to be going back to his apartment, and
right.
He lived with his elderly aunt. He helped to take care of her.
Okay.
And she had been trying to call him because it doesn't take that long to get from where I live to where he lives. And she couldn't get him. And my mom had been trying to call me because I was supposed to call her as soon as I had arrived there to let her know I got there safely. She couldn't get a hold of me. It would go straight to voicemail. So I have no idea where we were. We obviously were not going down my road for 2 hours. Doesn't take that long.
Right.
To go down this road. And of course, both my mom and his aunt wanted to know, where have you been? What took you so? Neither one of us could answer that question.
Wow.
We had no idea. It was just not there. There's a blank there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we went somewhere else or we pulled over and something happened. There's just nothing.
Yeah, well, from all the UFO files that I've studied, and especially when it comes to abductions, I've learned to understand that missing time is actually them either using time travel, which I know from what you said, it's not, that time travel is not real. But what they're doing is they're wiping out that portion of your memory, you know, from the time when they did what they did, or at least when you, let's say you standing outside looking up at this light that was in the sky, and all of a sudden, bam, you're still standing there, but there's nothing up there. So they wipe that entire portion of your memory out, and the only thing you have is you standing there looking at a light, and then all of a sudden, boom, you standing there looking at nothing. So that memory is completely wiped out of your mind. Or it could be somehow they're, you know, using time travel, you know. That was one of the theories from what I heard. They're using time travel, and what they're doing is they're bringing you back to that point where they first found you to make it look like nothing ever happened. You know, that was one of the theories too. But the mind wipe, I think that is more conducive to what happened to you, because I've heard that way too many times, as far as, you know, why these people don't have a memory of their experience when they've been abducted, even though they know they were. So yeah, they obviously didn't want you to know what they did to you, you know. But there's always signs like scoop marks in your in parts of your body, or you may feel something under your skin, and then when you find out what it is, it's like some sort of probe or a tracking device where they can find you, you know, and keep doing it until they get what they want from you. You know, it's so much to that. It's ridiculous, you know. But it's coming down to the last minutes of this interview. Is there anything else you want to tell me as far as what you feel the public should know about your experience?
Just that there's a lot more to this world than what we think we know. The world's a big place.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're ever going to know everything that is here. But there are things here that aren't supposed to be here, like we've always been told weren't here. But they are. I've seen them. I know there's got to be other people out there who experiences things like this, and maybe they're afraid to come forward.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like they're afraid of being like ridiculed, or you know, they don't want to speak out. But maybe it's time, you know.
Oh, it's definitely time. Because
watching the other lady kind of gave me the courage to say, okay, someone else has had experiences similar to this, and this is something I kept to myself for 7 years. You know, 2010. That's a long time.
Yes, it is.
To keep something like that to yourself.
Yeah. Hey, I'm so glad that you did have the courage to want to do this interview and tell them your story. And I hope that all of my viewers are thinking the same exact thing from the coming from the interview I did a couple of days ago, and hope that will open up a lot more minds, let alone open up people to where they can talk about it and not feel like, you know, people are going to think you're crazy. Because if they don't understand it, if they haven't had the experience, of course they're going to think you're crazy, because, you know, people fear what they don't understand, you know. And if you have an open mind, I'm sorry?
I actually, you know, like, you actually kind of question your own sanity when something like that happens.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and I tell everybody on my channel, you know, your eyes will never lie to you. So whatever you saw, you actually saw it. You know, it may not be something you can understand or explain, but you did see it, you know. So, you know, there's, like you said, there's so much about this planet we don't know about, and I've said that myself, and it's just a matter of time before the truth comes out. And it won't be coming from the government. It will be coming from people who actually are having these experiences, and they're just tired of the secrecy, and they're tired of all of the lies and the cover-ups. Somebody has to have the courage enough to say it. And when she did what she did, and telling, you know, the Park Service that, okay, first of all, you're not going to have my phone if you don't have a warrant. And she hasn't heard from him since. Yet she still gets calls from him. And they said, like, they want them to call him back within 48 hours. So I think...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're trying to do damage control on that, but it's a little bit late.
Yeah, especially now that...
It's already out there.
Oh, exactly. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to, you know, break open that... I want to break down that wall so they'll just, you know, realize that, okay, people know, so you're going to have to do something about it. You know, I mean, they can't do nothing about what's happening, but they can at least let people know to be careful and tell them what they need to do, and just tell the parents what really happened to their kids or their family members, you know, which is what I'm trying to do myself. That's the reason why I have this channel. That's the reason why I talk about what I talk about. You know, with some people, I'm actually a little bit lenient because they're still going through a lot with what happened to their family members. So I don't want to put their case in that category about them disappearing into a wormhole and going to another dimension or whatever, you know, comes along with that. I just want to get the word out there about what happened to them, as far as what is on the news and what's in the newspaper or what's on the internet. I don't want to take it to that level just yet, unless there is empirical truth about what really happened to them, you know. So
right, and I think that's the hardest thing for the family.
Yeah.
Not knowing what happened to your loved one.
Yeah.
Just never having that closure.
exactly. You know, so hopefully my last interviewee's words will help them understand what might have happened to their family. So, but yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming out to watch this video. I hope you like it, and if you are one of the few or one of the many who has a very incredible story to tell, an experience that you may have had in a national park or with a abduction experience, if you feel like you want to talk about it now, if you've been holding it in for a very long time, you are not alone. When you come to this channel, we will back you up 100%. This is what my channel is all about. People with an open mind. So if you got a story to tell, all you got to do is send me your information. My email is in the description box below, and just shoot me some information. I will call you and set up an interview with you, you know, so that you can finally get this off your chest, because it needs to be said. These things need to be talked about, so that the government will try to keep covering up, trying to say it's not real, or you were hallucinating, or they try to shut you up. They don't have that right. They may act like they do, but they don't. You have rights to. You know, that's why they have, you know, the amendment and all this other stuff dealing with, you know, our rights. You know, so you know what to do. Do it. Don't be afraid. That's what my channel is for. It's for the ones that's not afraid to talk about something that's strange or weird. Okay? So, you know how I do it, guys. You know how I end it every time. Aloha, mahalo, and a hui. See you later. Peace.